Well, howdy YouTube family, it's Bolt CRNA coming to you again with another day's topic. Actually, this is a continuation. This is part 2 of our talk with Bryan Archpru, CRNA. He is the one who created the Air Angel Blade. We talked to him last week about the beginnings and the origin stories, his time becoming a CRNA and nursing school, things like that. And now we're gonna get more into the later end of the Air Angel Blade and how it was used during the COVID pandemic and how it became an emergency supply that some third world countries needed and other things that he's been doing with Air Angel Blade recently. So let's get into it.
So when I started this project, or when I came up with the idea of the Air Angel project, I asked a really good friend of mine, his name's Stephen Bazan, who's also a CRNA, to join me on this project, to split the startup costs, come up with ideas to help me, figure out what we want to do with this. And this guy, Steve, going back to my first freshman year in college, he was the guy who got me he was my roommate. He was the one who talked me into nursing, talked me into getting into nursing, and we've been great friends since then. Once I got in anesthesia school, I told him to become a CRNA, and then he came up and he went to CRNA school, and so now we're both practicing CRNAs at the time. And then this is when I approached him and said, hey, join me on this project. And he said, yeah, sure. We split the startup costs, we printed a bunch of blades, we got scopes and cameras and things like that. I built a website called airangelblade.org that you guys can go check out. We shot a bunch of videos, tutorial videos on how to put the system together, how to troubleshoot some technical things, things like that. And we put some videos from places like Guatemala or the Philippines to show examples of the Air Angel system in practice. And so I'll show you now, this is kind of what one of the systems, if you put it all together, it will look like. And you can see here, this is a combination scope.
Your scope there.
The black thing here with a little camera and some lights at the end of it. It's like these LED lights. This scope and actually comes with a screen combination. I got off of Amazon for I think about 60 bucks.
Wow.
And again, this blade, this is the 3D printed part here. This is an Air Angel blade. You can see it just has the channel that fits right through here. Everything's open. You can easily remove this scope. If it breaks, you can replace the blade if it breaks. It was designed to have all the channels open so that it could dry very easily if, say, you were to clean it with and reuse it with like some kind of chemical cleaner or something like that. And so basically you would turn this on. So you can see the LED lights. And I can turn the light source up here.
Nice.
So you can see the LED light tip over there. It's adjustable. Awesome. And then the camera screen here, and you can even see like if I were sticking it in my mouth.
Oh wow, look at that.
Like that, and then that's basically the whole system setup. So this blade, which you can there's a link to our Shapeways store online. Like I said, you probably buy it for about 90 bucks, or you can download the file for free from our website and print it yourself. This a scope by itself, if we're attached to an Android smartphone, you could probably get it on Amazon for about $10 to $15. But this is a scope and screen combo, which I got for about $60. There's lots of options out there.
That's pretty cheap.
Very, very cheap, I think.
Yeah.
Compared to the alternative.
Oh, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for other typical video laryngoscopes.
And like I said, so the whole idea of the Air Angel project really was to create a whole resource center where it comes with the options of being able to get a free file for a 3D printed blade, a way or an option to easily buy a high quality 3D printed blade from Shapeways, and all the resources you need to figure out how to put the system together. Descriptions on scopes, on different options of whether you have an Android phone, if you don't have an Android phone. There's links to a bunch of different stuff that are useful on that website as well. And so that's the whole idea of the Air Angel project, was really to create kind of like a whole complete resource center. I built this website, we shot the videos, we launched it up, and really before the website was even done finishing, we started getting emails from people who were interested in getting the 3D file. Project really, we didn't advertise for this project, we didn't do anything like that. It was really just all word of mouth, or people finding us online because they were searching for this. For COVID, we ran this project for probably about 2 years, and we were able to track that our files were shared in about 30 different countries around the world.
Wow.
And I was getting emails, every day, every few days, something like that. And project itself really kind of surpassed our expectations at that point. There was a German blog that did a write-up of us, and it did a pretty in-depth review. And that got us a lot of interest in places like Austria and Switzerland and Germany, as far as using this for a low-cost training video laryngoscope.
Yeah.
So, and that was something that we didn't even expect, is that people wanted to find a low-cost video laryngoscope to train on and do simulation with. And so that
paramedics, EMTs, respiratory therapists, anesthesia personnel.
Absolutely.
Tons of people could use this.
Absolutely. So that's exactly, we got emails from firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, medical residency programs, things like that, that really wanted to use this as a training tool. Because obviously this is not FDA approved. We always recommend people using a medical grade video laryngoscope whenever possible, never using this within the United States on an actual person. This is really designed for life-saving airway management in like third world countries or developing countries in really remote areas. And so
exactly, places that would just not have anything at all if it wasn't for this.
Exactly.
And you might not be able to get the airway. Maybe the patient would pass away. Like, there's a lot of bad outcomes that can happen if you can't establish an airway on a patient, and this gives them the ability in those crunch moments that you can establish that airway and maybe save a life.
We do have an Instagram account. It's at AirAngelBlade, and there are a lot of examples on there. If you're interested, you can check it out. A lot of photos, videos, emails that we share from people that we receive from all over the world. Examples where this blade has really made a positive impact for a lot of people, and we just really enjoy getting that type of feedback from this project, and then sharing with people. So that's really the purpose of that Instagram account.
And then right after this started taking off and more people started becoming interested, that's when COVID hit, right? That
is when COVID hit, and it really shifted the paradigm, because our whole intent was really to increase access for patient airway safety with these video laryngoscopes. But it kind of morphed into this whole idea of really, instead of protecting for the patient's benefit, more for protecting the airway provider. And so that kind of changed the dynamics or the purpose of why people were really searching for something like this. 2020, between March and April, like, my email accounts just blew up. Everything got pretty crazy for us at the time, because that's really when the pandemic was really sweeping through lots of places in the world, and it was getting really serious and people were getting really scared. At the time, I wanted to keep track of where we were sending these files, so people were emailing me, and I was physically attaching this digital file, emailing it to people with an instruction sheet, kind of conversing with them. And like I said, I was going from maybe one email a day to one email every couple of days from somebody interested, to like dozens of emails in the morning, and then I'd clear through that and get dozens of emails in the evening. And it went on like that for like a few months, and it was to the point where I realized that the technical infrastructure that I built into this, because it was enjoyable for me to communicate with people from all over the world. I really enjoyed that. It was just not sustainable during this whole COVID pandemic thing. And there was a really intense interest on our website. I think our web traffic, our analytics showed like our web traffic went up like 1,000% within the month, during that time. And the requests that we were getting, there was just a lot of things that we thought were doing great with this project, but a lot of things we realized that, a lot of people need something more from this project than what we had at the time. And really set me on a path to really get to work to try to develop some other things that people needed at the time. So one was automatic download. You can go to our website now and download all our files automatically on yourself. You don't have to email us anymore. We adjusted our blades so that they could fit different size video scopes. The most common one that we use and we recommend is like a 5.5 millimeter flexible video scope. It's
just like what we have included here.
Exactly, and this is a separate one here. Tip is like this. But there's certain regions of the world, say you're in a certain part of Brazil and you can't find a 5.5 millimeter video scope. We didn't even know that was a problem that existed, but there are other sizes. There's 7 millimeters, 8 millimeters cameras as well. And so we created for our standard adult blade, I designed ones that can fit 7 millimeter borescopes or endoscopes and 8 millimeter size scopes as well, so that people didn't have to drill holes themselves into our existing blades, which they were doing at the time.
And try to make their scope fit.
Exactly. And so that for a lot of people was a big game changer. I also adjusted the 3D file to make it even simpler for people to 3D print at home. At first, I had no concept, no fundamental knowledge of 3D printing, so I just designed it to make it look the way I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there are certain things that you can do to the actual design to make it much easier and quicker to 3D print for somebody who's, you know, got a home or, you know, a hobbyist type of 3D printer at home. And so we made those adjustments, and that helped a lot as well. Another request people had was they wanted pediatric blades or even an extra large adult blade, because, you know, just there are people who are...
This is pretty standard size.
Pretty standard size,
but there are different variations, especially for pediatrics. You would want a smaller one than this, and there are some adult males that would probably need a little larger than this if you ran across that need.
And our whole idea is, like, in the beginning we thought, if you're going to take one blade with you into the jungles of who knows where or in a remote area, one that could fit the most
That's a pretty solid size, yeah.
Pretty standard size is what we designed our original one with. I realized that with what the requests were coming in, you know, we needed to do more. I wanted to make pediatric blades and extra adult blade, and I ended up getting in contact with another CRNA, a nurse anesthetist. His name's Eric Kramer. He's a fantastic guy. He's brilliant. He just is so knowledgeable in a lot of things. Very involved with humanitarian work. He's traveled all over the world doing anesthesia in the most remote places. And he's also, I think, a nurse practitioner as well. His background, he ran like an Ebola clinic in the Congo. You know, he's ran medical clinics in the mountains of Mexico. He's done anesthesia for refugees in Syria. Like, just really incredible stuff. And but through online connection, I found out he was really interested. He tried the Air Angel blade and was really interested in it. And he was also interested in 3D printing, and he had a much more foundational knowledge of 3D design and 3D printing. So I asked him to help me partner on designing the pediatric blades and helping me with modifications of our other blades that we had. And he had a 3D printer himself. And so he really, even though I was really doing most of the designing, he really became the prototype developer and kind of like an engineer consultant for me. So we talked a lot during those months. He sent me boxes of prototypes. I Amazoned him a ton of plastic, you know, so he could print at his home. And you know, within a month or so, we came up with some really good designs, and I sent them out to be tested with some connections I had at this point now in like Venezuela and Argentina and Brazil. And once we got the feedback that they actually worked well on kids and the extra large blade worked well on adults, that we released them publicly to everybody. Awesome. And so these specialty blades, we do charge like a $5 fee to download the files, but you know, obviously you're free to share them with your colleagues, your friends, whoever you want to, and it really just goes to support the ongoing overhead costs of the project. And it allows us to continue to offer the main file, which is our standard adult size file, for free. And that's what we continue to plan doing, because this is by far the most downloaded file. These are, I brought a couple of samples here. These are pediatric styles. These are modeled fairly closely after a Mac 1 and a Mac 2 blade, except they have a little bit more hyper-angulated tips to help you know, leverage the benefits of video laryngoscopes. And then you can see kind of, this is our extra large adult model here.
Like a solid Mac 4.
Exactly.
Maybe,
like this one originally was designed to be like a Mac 3, kind of like a 3.5 size video laryngoscope blade. But this one's about 2 centimeters larger, so you can kind of see
that would be
the difference here for an extra large adult. And I think people would be very surprised at how robust and strong these blades are. I mean,
they are.
You can try to break it.
These are tough.
It's surprisingly strong.
Can attest.
A ton of interest from people all over the place.
Yeah, well, COVID was going rampant. People were needing rapid intubations. We remember that time period when COVID patients were coming in force, and you would need to do rapid intubations, and these guys would desaturate in a heartbeat. As soon as you would push the propofol, their saturations would be in the 50s. You don't have time to DL and to mess around in airways. You need to be rapidly intubating, and if you can do that with a video laryngoscope, it's a lot faster, it's a lot safer. You know you're going right for the airway, and it's the safest thing for those patients. So in these third world countries that don't have GlideScopes and McGraths and CMAX and these expensive video laryngoscopes, these were probably lifesavers for those people.
Yeah, you know, people were incredibly grateful, I think, when they came across our project. And again, through our Instagram account, we share some of those emails with you guys. You know, you're thinking about these remote places. At the time when COVID hit, even places in developed countries couldn't even get video laryngoscopes. They were
Right.
back ordered. Everybody bought them all out. And so
yeah.
even if you had the money, you couldn't get them. So if
Okay.
you're in a developed country, you have like no chance at getting something like this. Intubating somebody is a highly aerosolizing procedure. And being the airway provider, in a normal DL situation, having your face this close to their mouth,
Right.
somebody who's got a high viral load of COVID, you're at a much higher
Very
risk
dangerous.
of getting contaminated than having a video laryngoscope. And maybe having one of those like clear boxes or drapes over their faces,
Exactly.
having your face farther away, having a barrier between,
You
and
got
being
your
able to
camera.
intubate that way. And so people were recognizing all over the world that video laryngoscopes were really the go-to type of device to intubate somebody with COVID
was.
as far as protecting the actual
I
airway
intubated
provider.
everyone with video laryngoscope for probably 6 months when COVID hit, until we started seeing patients with negative COVID tests frequently and stuff. I did not DL patients for the longest time. I did video laryngoscope, not this brand, of course, but yeah, video laryngoscope here in America with probably GlideScope most likely. But this would have been key to have had.
And I think, like I said, when people from all over the world were looking for something just like this and they found our project, to them it gave them some kind of hope, and hope that they have. Obviously, there's this big scary pandemic going all around them, and they have very limited resources, but this is one of the tools that they can now possibly have to help them fight this crazy thing that's scary and making a lot of people around them sick. And so a lot of people reaching out to us and giving us a lot of positive feedback over the project. And I think people really liked the idea that it was not something that was trying to be monetized. It was something that was really aimed at just trying to help people, in as many ways as can and as many people as possible.
Yeah, and you have. I mean, obviously, if you go on their Instagram account it's at Air Angel Blade.
Yeah, that's the Instagram account.
The Instagram account, you'll see, images from Brazil and from multiple other countries of providers using these utensils to intubate patients or people that they may be difficult airways they were able to establish because of this device. So you'll be able to see more of how he's actually been able to help people across the world, and it's really impressive. And I wanted him to come on today to kind of give an example of what CRNAs are out there in the world doing when they're challenged with things like COVID pandemics. And even before COVID, you were already thinking up ways to help people in third world countries. And no one asked you to do that. No one, was pushing you to do that. It was just a natural source of invention from yourself to create something that would help people out in the world. And I just wanted to have you on today to highlight that, because there's so many CRNAs who are doing that, who are going above and beyond normal clinical anesthesia and the basics of what you need to be doing to provide anesthesia from A to Z for your patient every day. And they're creating things, they're innovating things, they're being leaders in the world of anesthesiology. And I wanted you on today to be able to highlight that for the people out there on YouTube.
Well, thank you, Jason, for having me here. And this really just started as just a small project to see if anybody out there would really want it, and it just kind of snowballed because I think of the demand of what people were looking for something like this, and it certainly surpassed my expectations and I think Steve's expectations. But we're just really fortunate to just have been part of this journey, and as long as people need it, we'll keep offering it to them.
That's great. Do you have any words of wisdom or advice for any CRNAs or anesthesia trainees out there who are maybe wanting to create something or innovate something, or maybe just do something a little bit outside the box from the normal clinical anesthesia day-to-day life? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would just say if you have an idea that you feel like is worth chasing, there's nothing stopping you. It's always worth trying and failing than to not try. I know that sounds so cliche, but I kind of try to live my life like that. Why not try it? I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right?
It's true. Try it. If it's something in your heart that you're feeling like you need to get on the ball and do something on, get to work on it. Start putting the nose to the grindstone and start working on it, because if you don't start, it definitely will never happen. So you don't know until you at least try. And I try and surround myself with a bunch of people like you and Chuck Biddle and all these other people I'm interviewing lately who are CRNA innovators who are doing such cool things, because when you surround yourself by other people doing great things and trying new things, it encourages you to try that thing that you haven't done before. Write that book that you have been thinking about writing, or do that research that you haven't, dedicated the time to doing. It's inspiring to you. So yeah, I appreciate having friends like Bryan here who inspires me as well.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it, man.
Well, all right, guys, that was this week's video. I know we had to break it up into 2 parts because it was kind of long, but if you have any questions for Bryan about the Air Angel blade, or about innovation or video laryngoscopes, or even if you're just wanting to buy some of these for yourself, for your own practice, maybe clinically training someone, or if you're in another country that needs video laryngoscopes, make sure and go follow him over at Air Angel Blade on Instagram. Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, airangelblade.org. You can check it out. You can see kind of what we're all about, more videos, tutorials. You can download the files, purchase the blades, or you can email me at airangelblade@gmail.com. We do have a Facebook account, but I don't really keep it up that much.
Not used much, yeah. Same here. Facebook's dying. Well, all right, guys, that was everything. Until next time, that's Bolt Out.